Despite having the appearance of typical small family saloons from the 1960s and 1970s, the Austin 1100 and 1300 have a far more complicated history. They were more than simply automobiles. They were representations of drive, ingenious design, and occasionally annoying defects that caused owners to feel both love and hatred for them. The British Motor Corporation, or BMC, introduced the 1100-1300 in 1962, and it soon rose to the top of the UK's automobile sales charts for the decade. With sales in the millions, it was once the most popular family vehicle in Britain. Under the direction of Sir Alec Isagonis, the man who invented the Mini, this vehicle was intended to be the more mature and useful sister of that groundbreaking little vehicle. However, the Austin 1100-1300 had its share of peculiarities, from what features to design defect that would haunt it in later life, despite its inventive and fashionable qualities. In this countdown, we'll examine 8 little-known facts about the Austin 1100-1300 that show why modern vintage vehicle aficionados recall it with such affection and occasionally annoyance. Number 8. The Gearbox Automatic. Few tiny cars had automatic gearboxes in the early 1960s. Automatics were only found in large saloons or luxury vehicles, not in everyday family vehicles. However, BMC pioneered a 4-speed gearbox that was completely automatic for the 1100 and later the 1300. The automobile stood out in the crowded market thanks to this audacious approach. The engineering problem was enormous. In order to accommodate the car's distinctive transverse engine layout, the same arrangement used in the Mini, the gearbox needed to be small enough. What BMC created was a brilliant little device that made city driving easier and generated smooth shift when it was operating. It was a godsend for elderly drivers or anyone sick of stop-start traffic. All of a sudden, a little, reasonably priced family vehicle had the kind of convenience typically found in large American saloons. Of course, it had flaws, much like a lot of early automatic systems. Reliability wasn't flawless, maintenance was difficult, and repairs may be expensive. Nevertheless, it demonstrated that BMC wasn't scared to try new things and be creative, even if doing so meant taking chances. Number 7. The adhesive choke wire. The choke is familiar to anybody who has ever operated a carbureted vehicle. During cold starts, it enhances a fuel mixture, which facilitates engine ignition. A pull knob on the dashboard operated the choke on the Austin 1100-1300. In theory, it seemed straightforward. But in reality, it frequently turned into one of the car's most irksome features. The choke cable had a tendency to get rigid, sticky, or even seize up entirely over time. Sometimes the cable would not slide back properly, requiring owners to yank at it with both hands. The outcome? Stalls after the car is warmed up, harsh idling, or excessive fueling. During the winter, when the choke was most frequently utilized, this was especially annoying. The issue was caused by regular wear, moisture, and improper cable routing. Lubrication provided short-term relief, but the problem would recur if you didn't maintain it. Many owners either changed the cable completely or came up with inventive do-it-yourself fixes. It became one of those classic car traits that drivers both swore at and cherished, even if it wasn't a deal-breaker. Number 6. The suspension of hydroelastic. The suspension was the one characteristic that truly made the Austin 1100-1300 stand out. The hydroelastic suspension mechanism was created by Isagonis' close engineer associate, Dr. Alex Moulton. For a little family car, this was truly innovative. The hydroelastic system employed fluid-filled chambers connected front to rear on either side of the vehicle in place of steel springs. The ride was smoothed out when a front wheel bumped because the shock was absorbed and partially transmitted to the back. As a result, even on bumpy roads, the vehicle felt stable and calm. The 1100-1300 was frequently criticized by passengers for feeling like a much larger, more costly car. It provided families with a surprisingly elegant driving experience while gliding over potholes. The Austin felt positively opulent in comparison to competitors with simple leaf springs. Age was a drawback. Many cars later suffered from leaks, drooping ride height, and uneven handling. Owners of surviving specimens still frequently need to find experts or recharge the system in order to keep it functioning. However, at the time, it was a key selling element that contributed to the Austin's market dominance. Number 5. The twin from Spain. Few people are aware that the Austin had a Spanish twin, despite the fact that it was a common sight on British roads. The vehicle was manufactured in Pamplona under license by Automoviles de Turismo Hispano-Ingleses. Beginning in 1966, production lasted until the middle of the 1970s. The Spanish translations had their own personality and weren't merely duplicates. Among the models were the Milligram 1300, the Morris 1100, and the Austin Victoria, a particularly svelte saloon that was only available in Spain. These vehicles frequently had distinctive logos, interior decorations, and mechanical modifications to fit regional standards. The Spanish-built models distinguished out as technically proficient and somewhat opulent in a market dominated by simpler and less complex automobiles. Possessing an Authy 1100 or 1300 was a statement for Spanish purchasers. It meant operating a cutting-edge, global, and sophisticated vehicle. Number 4. The dashboard made of fake wood. In the 1960s, British automakers enjoyed adding a little flair to everyday vehicles. This also applied to the Austin 1100-1300. The dashboard of certain variants appeared to be made of polished wood. The trick, though, is that it wasn't wood at all. Alternatively, BMC placed a wood-grain vinyl sticker to a plastic or metal surface. There was an air of refinement and richness about it from afar. The truth was clear up close, or was, after a few summers in the heat. The wood would flake away completely, discolor, or bubble. In addition to being a smart cost-cutting move, it served as a reminder of the extent to which automakers are prepared to go in order to imply luxury on a shoestring. Eventually, a lot of owners removed it, painted the panel, or installed aftermarket substitutes. However, it helped the Austin look better than it actually was for a while. Number 3. The pour heater. A dependable heater was the one item that British drivers most urgently needed in the 1960s. Unfortunately, there were a lot of shortcomings in the Austin system. Technically, it did have a heater, but warm was a bit of a stretch. The airflow was hardly more than a sigh of lukewarm air on chilly winter mornings. It frequently caused the windscreen to fog up even more rather than clear. As part of their morning routine, many drivers kept an old sponge or rag in the glove box to manually wipe away condensation. In addition to being inconvenient, this might have been dangerous for families in the 1960s and 1970s. Nevertheless, it somehow added to the car's allure, much like so many of its shortcomings. Because the remainder of the car was so good at what it did, drivers accepted it, cursed it, and joked about it. Number 2. The issue of rust. Rust was by far the most significant of the Austin flaws. Long-term corrosion protection was not given much consideration during the construction of these vehicles. Water accumulated in unseen places such as sills, floor pans, and subframes due to inadequate drainage and inadequate rust-proofing. This was structural rust, not surface rust that could be sanded off and painted over. Cars that appeared to be in good condition on the exterior were eventually discovered to be dangerously fragile below. If kept in a wet garage, even low-mileage vehicles may rot from the inside out. Unfortunately, the cost of fixing serious body rust was far more than the car's worth, even if many Austins had mechanically sound engines and gearboxes. As a result, thousands were trashed. A rust-free survivor is now an uncommon and highly valued find among aficionados. Number 1. The quirk of starting without a clutch. Lastly, the Austin 1100 or 1300 starting system was among its most peculiar features. It started without the clutch, in contrast to other cars. Although it would seem practical, there was a danger involved. The engine would start and the automobile would lunge forward instantly if you turned the key while it was still in gear. When the car slammed into a garage wall or jumped across a driveway, many owners experienced humiliating or even deadly situations. It was a mistaken design that required cautious behavior. Drivers soon discovered that it was best to check the gear lever twice before turning on the ignition. Yes, it was a little dangerous, but it was also one of the peculiarities that made the car seem vintage. These are features of Austin 1100 and 1300. If you like it, then subscribe our channel for more information about classic car, and also comment below in comment section.